Welcome everyone to this great discussion on gymnastics and the U.S. gymnastics. And I'm really excited. I'm Meredith Geisler. I'm a professor of sport management at George Washington University, and I'm super excited to have three of my former students. I can say that now officially with the most recent grad. But three of my former students, all gymnasts at GW, Division One student athletes at George Washington University, participating in this panel discussion on gymnastics and how important the sport, team sports, being a student athlete, and the sport itself, gymnastics, has played in their lives. I'm going to start by introducing each of the women that are here today, and then they'll each give you a brief description of their background, and then we'll get into some questions. So I'd first like to introduce Cydney Crasa, who competed throughout her age group and then into college in gymnastics. She was the captain of the GW gymnastics team, and I'm not going to take anything away from her bio, so I'll let her get into that. But Cydney Crasa, and then Kendall Whitman, who also graduated a couple years ago. And there's and maybe she'll even get into this, there's a gymnastics move internationally known, named after Kendall and one of the vaults that she does. And then my most recent grad, Catherine O'Rourke, who just graduated in May from GW and is now in the workforce. And maybe eventually doing something in gymnastics, but for now in finance. So with that, I'd like to give each of them a couple minutes to describe their background, and then we'll get into the questions. So we'll start with you, Cydney.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Cydney Crasa. I work for Raymond Representation as a talent agent. All things sponsorships, endorsements, from A to Z, legal help. We give athletes the chance with NIL to take advantage of their opportunities in college and beyond. And our main thing is athletes to entrepreneurs. So I really help those athletes in their sport facilitate things that go beyond their sport and their major interests. Like Meredith said, I went to GW. I did a 5th year as well, and competed in the college season. It's every single weekend, but growing up, gymnastics is a sport definitely that you have to be in the gym, like more so than, a normal, it's definitely a non-traditional sport thing where you need to be in the gym all the time. And so my family owned a gym, and I trained under them from 0 to 18, and then went to college and continued from there. So very, very well connected to the sport, and love to give back in a certain way and have conversations about it.
Kendall.
Yeah, my name's Kendall Whitman. I currently work for Motion Recruitment, and we're an IT staffing agency. We help with anything from our clients' needs to providing them with top-notch quality candidates. Anything ranging in the engineering department is pretty much what we specialize in. So I've been doing that over the past little over a year now. And like Meredith said, I also competed for GW for 5 years, graduated with my bachelor's in organizational science. And then I got to also do a certificate program with Meredith in sports management. So that was a lot of fun. Always looking for ways to stay engaged in sports, though. So really excited to be a part of this today. And yeah, definitely growing up in gymnastics has shaped me into who I am today. So just excited to get the chance to talk about it.
Fantastic. And Catherine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine O'Rourke. I just graduated from GW. And I'm currently working in commercial banking at a bank in Boston, where I'm from. Really excited to be here today. I already missed gymnastics. Unlike the other two, I only did 4 years. I didn't do 5. So super excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for each of your time today, and we'll get into the discussion. So we'll start with you, Catherine. We'll go reverse order this time. But describe your experiences in youth gymnastics. What did the gymnastics culture in Massachusetts and Boston look like for you? And we have Boston and Massachusetts. We have Pennsylvania, right, Kendall? And
Yes.
then we have New York. So we have 3 northeastern cities, but probably varying differences. So Catherine, start with you.
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, I was always in the gym 7 days a week, would practice Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday I would always do a private lesson for an hour with my coach. So never really took an off day, but it was where I loved to be. It was my happy place. And then as I started getting older, really realized it was something I wanted to pursue beyond just like middle school and high school. And I was at my home gym until about sophomore year of high school. And then that gym that I was at my whole life actually closed right after COVID. So then I went to a new gym that was a lot farther from me. It was about a 45-minute drive away. So a big adjustment there. But honestly, that was like one of the best things that had ever happened to me. Like I always say, if I had never switched gyms, I would never be at GW. It just really helped me advance in my gymnastics and kind of gave me more connections that helped with recruiting as well. I didn't really know a ton about the recruiting process coming from my old gym. Massachusetts is definitely not one of the hubs of really elite gymnastics. So I was a little behind in those regards. But yeah, once I got to my new gym, I definitely felt like I had more of the resources in order to really progress and eventually get to GW.
So before we get to you, Kendall, what was the difference in that gym that provided that type of exposure and opportunity? What did they know that your previous gym didn't know?
Yeah, so they just had more girls that were going into the college athletic space, as well as my coaches had a lot more just knowledge about college gymnastics. Like my coach, who I'm still very close to this day, she went to UNH for gymnastics. And then
New Hampshire.
Yes, University of New Hampshire for gymnastics. And they also just they knew more college coaches, knew what the process of college recruiting was like. Which at my previous gym, the coaches weren't really pushing it as much just because it was a smaller gym. And they had less girls that were going that path.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Kendall, what was your youth gym experience, and how did it? What did it look like from? And maybe even talking to some of your teammates when you ultimately got to GW, like how did it differ?
Yeah, so I think I definitely had a very unique experience when it came to like my path to GW. I was fortunate enough to receive a full scholarship offer when I was only 14 years old. So
Wow.
I've always known Margie, who was the head coach at GW for 39 years. From the time I was super little, Division I athletics was something that our coaches always presented to us, and we constantly had coaches coming into the gym, watching us. And I had prior teammates that were older to me who had also gone to GW. So the head coach, Margie, she was super familiar with me from a young age, and it was just something that I jumped into head first, even though I was super young and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I really wouldn't have traded the experience for the world. I think very highly of GW and the coaching staff. So I think although it was something that I knew for a long time I was going to do, it was definitely something that I still had to work hard for every day. And, it definitely got me through the harder times because I always had that bigger goal to work towards. So I definitely thought about, college gymnastics from a very young age.
So when you came to GW, was Sid still part of the team?
Yeah, so I actually got to be on the team with Sid for 1 year. So I was a freshman and she was a fifth year, and she definitely took me under her wing and showed me, all the good parts about GW and really helped me. And it was during COVID, so I was so fortunate to have her. I don't think I would have gone through it without her, to be honest. We even got to live together, so that was, yeah, that was awesome.
And then Kendall, when you were there, Catherine was.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I love how all three of you have intersected. I know the gymnastics team at George Washington is very close anyway, and the alum are such a huge part of the gymnastics experience at GW. And I know the alumni weekend for gymnastics is a really big deal. So it's really so fulfilling and rewarding to see how this group of the three women that we have here have all intersected with each other in gymnastics. So I'm very excited. So Cydney, describe your experience, your youth gymnastics experience, and what it was like in New York and how you ultimately got to GW.
Absolutely. So before I say that, I'm going to say I was there when Kendall came on her little official visit, or unofficial because she was so young at the time. And we're all like, oh my gosh, she just started high school, or maybe it was middle school. I can't remember. But I specifically remember that. And she stayed true to GW the whole entire time. And we were all so excited that she committed. So I remember that very vividly. And then just as far as like my youth in gymnastics, like I said, my family owned a gym. My mom and my two aunts all did college gymnastics. And so it was kind of in my DNA to, see it through to the end. And the end was college for me. And so growing up in the gym, like I was there more than I was home. Luckily, like my parents got to see me because I was always in the gym with them and them coaching me, which is a very interesting dynamic. But, I always stuck through it because I think in gymnastics, because it is so time, you have to have that commitment and a discipline to go to the gym and be there and not be at the events of, a school formal or a homecoming. Like you're missing those key moments to be in the gym and to be training. And so, to have family that was there with me and also had been through it was really great. And then as far as the connections piece, I think for recruiting, at least when I was doing it, it's changed a lot since then. You can't be, Kendall's age committing to schools. They put on those regulations. But, having people around you that are not afraid to call up the college coaches, like your coaches have to really advocate for you as well as your gymnastics has to advocate for it as well. So, at the time we were putting together videos on YouTube. Now I think it's Instagram and things like that. So, really having the courage to advocate for your gymnastics, having the coaches that are also going to provide those resources, like Catherine said, just created like the perfect storm for me to go to GW on a full ride and just take advantage of every single opportunity. I mean, I think in the sport itself, it's all about chasing perfection and we're not afraid to work hard. And so that continued in college and throughout. So it's a very unique experience, but the gymnastics community is really small at the end of the day. As many people that do it, it is a small community. And so, I respect everybody's paths to get to this point. And it does look different for some people. However, like we all love the sport and we wouldn't have done it for so long if that wasn't the case. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Kendall, we know that you committed very early on, but Catherine, when did you ultimately commit to GW? And same for you, Cydney.
I committed, I believe it was my junior year of high school. I believe it was November, I think. Yeah. So that was, COVID was my sophomore year, I believe. So it was like shortly after that.
And what ultimately led you to say yes to GW?
Yeah, so I actually had a teammate, Jillian Winstanley, that Sid was on the team with. She was at my gym my whole life, and she was always such a mentor to me. And she went to GW and I visited her in I think middle school, and I watched a meet, and like ever since then I was just obsessed. I was like, I need to come here. So then obviously a lot had happened between middle school and then college recruiting. And so yeah, I kind of always had GW in the back of my mind, and then it just ended up working out. I feel like I peaked at the right time, and I went to the GW camps and met Margie, and I think we just like really clicked. So I think it was just a bunch of little things kind of just culminating at once. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Sid, what about you?
Yeah, mine was 10th grade, and that was considered late.
So Margie,
Yeah,
she recruits early, young.
but that was at my time, that was considered late because people had all committed 9th grade. Those scholarships went like for the big schools, they were already committed before high school. So
Wow.
there's a lot of rules now where you can't even talk to a school until 11th grade and go on a visit, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Because how in the heck did I know at 10th grade that, I mean, thank God I had a great family to say, you know, you want to be doing this after, and what's the best education as well. And
Right.
so, you know, that was a big piece of me saying yes to GW, but also like I was late, right? So 10th grade, right? That's still not late. That's very early. So I got lucky in that and never wavered. And GW was the perfect place. It was right in DC. There was so much going on beyond gymnastics, which also was really important for me to develop like outside of the sport as well. So
Amazing. You all competed at such young ages. And I know at GW you've had opportunity to travel at least across the country for gymnastics. Have any of you traveled internationally for gymnastics and competed internationally?
Yeah,
Kendall,
I had the opportunity when I was same age, actually 14. I got to compete in France. We actually did 2 competitions out there.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
In France, in Paris.
Oh, in France. Okay.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to travel out there. It was just me and my coaches and 2 of my teammates, but we did 2 competitions out there. We were there for about 3 weeks, and one was in Paris and one was in another part of France. I can't remember, but it was definitely a unique opportunity, and it was super cool to see something like that for the first time. And I'm really glad I was able to do that experience because obviously it's something I'll never forget. So yeah.
Either Catherine or
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The farthest I've went is my team went to Puerto Rico for a competition. So technically it's still a US territory, but it was definitely like an adjustment with the equipment. I remember was different. And just adjusting to like it was definitely a different scene than what I was used to, like the standardized equipment that we have here. In the States and all the competitions I was used to going to, it was all slightly different at this competition. So I remember we had a practice day where we kind of all had to adjust to it. And then obviously the competition day, but that's the furthest I've gone.
Fantastic. And Sid?
Yeah, there was the fun Puerto Rico, Bahamas, Mexico, all the nice warm places that weren't too far. But it was really nice to be, and even just like across the country, like going to all of these cities that I would never have gone to unless it was for gymnastics. Like our family almost vacations were always, we picked a meet and we would go to it. So I've had a lot, just being able to like go to Vegas as a young kid in California, being from New York, like that was so special and, such an opportunity that was unique compared to other sports and other people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I swam competitively from age 6 all the way through college, and the places that I went to, excuse me, for my swim meets are places I would never go, probably ever again. Nebraska, and South Dakota and, I mean, Iowa and places, again, incredible places to visit, but, and I never would have gotten there without swimming. So it was really fun to be a Division I, or I was Division III, but a collegiate athlete. So, so what, were there in any of you any aspirations of being an Olympic gymnast? And if so, at what point did you say, college athletics is probably as amazing as it is, and phenomenal. That's where it's going to end for me. And was that a dream shattered by not, being able to compete in the Olympics? So we'll start with you, Catherine, and talk about if you had Olympic aspirations, Olympic team aspirations, and when that maybe ultimately ended.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously every young girl, when you first start gymnastics, you see gymnastics on the Olympics and that's the goal. That's what you think is going to happen. You learn pretty quickly that that's pretty difficult. I remember my coach having me do like the tops. In the US, we call it tops testing, and that's the path to go towards elite gymnastics and ultimately the Olympics. And I remember like when he would have me do the tops testing and stuff like that, I would be like, wait, I don't want to do this. I want to be with my friends. Cause it really did kind of feel like almost isolated because you're so young. All you want to do is like do some flips and hang out with your friends. You don't necessarily always see the bigger picture. And then just quickly as I got more developed in the sport, you realize that Olympic caliber is just a whole nother level. And I was happy on the path I was at. And yeah.
Excellent. Sid, we'll go to you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like everyone when you're doing gymnastics, if you take it seriously and you're in the gym 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7, like, of course you want to go to the Olympics. Who wouldn't want to go to the Olympics? It was such a bonding moment, that's when gymnastics, I feel like fans really love it, is when the Olympics comes around. Even enrollment in the gym would skyrocket Olympic years because you knew that, people were going to watch it on TV and their kids would want to get into it. So I definitely had Olympic aspirations. However, you do get to that point where, like Catherine said, there's like tops at the time, right? And then there was hopes, and then there was junior elite. So there's like different steps, and I made it to like hopes, which is like the middle, like you're still like 11, 12 years old. And it wasn't a lack of skill, I would say. I would just say also that like sometimes it's just, you can work as hard as you can, but if it just doesn't click on certain events, you're not really going to get there. And so, having that college path available to us is still such an incredible thing. It's life-changing. It sets you up for success post gymnastics. And even the girls today that you see in the Olympics, like they can do college gymnastics, and they do college gymnastics because they can do both.
I love that. That's now, because you didn't. Correct. It was earlier on. You either picked that path. You either picked the path. Or it picked you. But an elite gymnast on your way to being an Olympian, or college, and you couldn't do both. And now to see the gymnasts, our gold medalists and our medalists, period, able to go to college and compete in college is really an exciting thing for certainly collegiate athletics. But anyway, sorry I interrupted.
Completely agree. I couldn't agree more. And like for the sport itself, like the college D1 level has just gotten so much more competitive. Like you can't be going to college and thinking about it as a walk in the park, especially with our program, it wasn't. And, I know that all the other programs are the same way. Like it's very, it is not the Olympics. However, to some people, it is their Super Bowl. So it's definitely still a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Kendall, what about you? At what point did you college? I concur that college is an amazing level of gymnastics. But at what point did you say, maybe I won't be an Olympian?
Yeah, I think Kat and Sid did a great job explaining that one. My gym had a program where we could train towards elite gymnastics if we wanted to. It required us to be like homeschooled, which was a big thing for me. So I actually had the opportunity to only be like half homeschooled. So I was able to still go to school in the morning for about 2 hours and get my core classes in, and then train the rest of the day in the gym from 12 to 5 every day. But that was the time that they allowed us to move towards that elite path. But I think overall, just like Sid and Catherine said, you start to realize from an early age how difficult it really is. And I believe like some years they only picked 4 people for the Olympic team, one of those being Simone Biles. So really fighting for essentially 3 spots, it just seems like something that is crazy, honestly. So I think I knew, probably by middle school, but I did still do those training hours my whole life up until college. So it's still something that, you have to put the work in just as much to go Division I as you would for something like that. So.
Excellent. So as an elite gymnast, as all 3 of you are, what is it like to watch the Olympics and watch gymnastics, the gymnasts at the Olympics? What goes through your respective minds as you're watching a Simone Biles or any of the other elite men or female gymnasts as they're performing things? You're like, I could do that. I mean, so kind of take us through your mind as you're watching the gymnastics on the Olympics, whether it's US or any other country. Sid, we'll start with you.
Yes. So now I have the privilege of representing some Olympic gymnasts who compete for the Philippines. And so, watching it, regardless of watching it, you always are going to miss it since you did it. And your body, you're like, oh, I can kind of feel what that feels like. I feel like I could do it. You dream about it for a little bit. You're like, I could do it in my dreams, right? And it's like, and gymnastics is definitely a skill where you need to be in the gym every single day. And so that's not actually possible. But watching it from the agent lens, just being able to celebrate the athletes that have worked so hard and get to that point, like obviously it comes around once every 4 years, and the time frame, although it's gotten bigger, like you've seen, like Simone, she's been going to multiple Olympics. She's one of, she's not even 30 yet, and she's so accomplished. Like girls used to go at 16 and then they never went again, like we said before. And so watching the sport just like grow and how far it's advanced, the skills that they're doing are skills that you would go into a foam pit and maybe think about doing. And these girls are doing it and landing on the floor, like landing these passes, things that are super, super impressive. And just the level of the sport has gotten so high, and it's so fun to watch the Olympics because you know how much went into it. And so that emotional piece always gets me every 4 years.
It's what they are able to do. I mean, it's not human. It's like it's impossible to see
Even
this.
doing this, you're like, how did they do that? How are they doing it? And then they continue to push the boundaries, the men and the women.
Yeah.
So they're some of the best athletes in the entire world. Obviously, I'm biased, but I would stand on that.
Yeah, for sure. Kendall, what about you? Have any of them done the Whitman for a vault in the Olympics?
No, I haven't seen my vault done yet, but I had a really cool experience. I think I was at like the prime age to have the opportunity to compete with Olympians in the NCAA. So actually 2 of the years that I had qualified to NCAAs, I got to compete with both UCLA and Oregon State. Wow. So I don't know if you are familiar, but I actually went right after 2 Olympians on floor 2 separate years. The first year was Jordan Childs, and I just remember like standing in the corner waiting to start warming up, and I'm looking directly at her, and I am just so like starstruck, and I just was like levitating out of my body. I'm flying off the floor because I'm just so like just in awe of her, and like being able to compete on the same floor as her at the same competition was just like mind blowing to me. And then the following year, I had the same opportunity with Jade Carey. I went right after her again, which was just insane to me. I'll always be amazed by what they do, and just the way they approach their competitions. You see them before they go, and they're just so calm and like collected, and it just doesn't even look like it phases them, which amazed me. So yeah, I'll never forget that as well. It was definitely a really cool experience.
Did you feel that just sounds really cool? Do you feel that seeing them and competing right after them and being that close, do you feel that it helped elevate your skills and your, just your demeanor?
Yeah, so the first year when I was with Jordan Childs, I don't think I did my best routine because I was just I don't know, like just so in the moment, but didn't do bad, just was a little over energetic. But the second year I was really able to like lock in and just, look at Jade, who had gone before me. And I remember I got like a 995. I did a great routine, and it was awesome to do, right after her. Of course, she got a 9975, but I was hanging right there with her, which was, it was still awesome.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Catherine, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, when the Olympics comes around every year, it's a little hard for me to wrap my head around like some of the stuff they're doing. I'm like, oh my gosh. And none of them use mats ever, which is also the crazy part. And I think another big element of it, especially
Wait, go back and explain what you mean by no one uses mat. They're on a mat when they're competing, no?
Yeah, but like on floor, like a lot of the times, like I know in club, you're used to landing on a soft mat to like help break the landing a bit.
Right.
And you can still do that in college. At GW, we didn't really do that, but it's typical in college gymnastics now. But like in the Olympics, I feel like Simone's doing a triple double and not even landing on a mat. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And there's also such an element of it, of that, like the nerves you get watching it, because you're like, oh my gosh, not to the same degree, but I can relate to what they're feeling right now, like the feeling of competing or the feeling of doing a good routine or the feeling of making a small mistake or something. So yeah.
Have you what was the condition that Simone had? The twisties? Is that what it was called? Can one of you describe what happened to her with this twisties? Explain what that is, and did the twisties ever happen to any of you in your competition?
I can definitely speak to this one. I'm someone just from a really young age. I struggled with like pretty severe mental blocks my whole career. A little different than the twisties, but definitely super similar in ways. From the time I was in fourth grade, I think it was, I just completely stopped going backwards in general. I couldn't do, basic back handsprings, back tucks, and I kind of had to figure out my own way in gymnastics. And that's part of the reason I was able to get the vault named after me, because I couldn't do like the standard vault that everybody else was competing. So I kind of just made my own way, but it's super similar to the twisties because it kind of just feels like your mind isn't connected to your body, and your brain's telling you one thing, but your body's doing another thing in the air. So it's something that's really hard for people to understand who have never been in the situation before. I know she got a lot of like bad comments said about her and things like that, which was really hard to see. Just being someone who struggled with that. So it's definitely real. It's definitely something that probably every gymnast experiences at some point in their career. Sometimes it lasts a day, sometimes it lasts weeks, months, years, sometimes it never goes away. So just seeing her be able to work through that and, come back again to another Olympics and, prove herself was just amazing. So yeah, it's definitely real.
And you overcame the challenge too, to compete at a very high level. So, Catherine, did any of those mental blocks happen to you?
Never the twisties, which I'm really grateful for because that, like I can relate to the feeling, but I don't know exactly that feeling. Definitely when I was younger, learning certain skills, I definitely had a few mental blocks that I had to work through. But obviously never to that level. And like Kendall said, like it is hard to watch because all gymnasts on some level could relate to what she was feeling, and for her to get just so much hate and backlash for it when obviously that was not the outcome she wanted. She's probably beating herself up more than anyone else in that situation. So yeah, that was definitely a tough situation for the gymnastics community to watch.
I'm sure. And Sid, how about you? Did you experience any mental blocks?
Yeah. No, it's so crazy that the word the twisties is so common now into like the real, it's like it was all over online. Like, what are the twisties? And it's literally exactly what Kendall said. Like the mind, the body connection. I did have it. I even had it in college, but like I didn't really talk about it. Like, because it happens and you kind of just want to like pretend like it didn't happen, and then you do it again to like fix it. At least in my case. So, there were a lot of times where my coach would say, do this. And then I would go to do it and something different would happen. And so that's just an example of like, you don't like, you've done it so many times or so many repetitions, but then your body just does something different. And so then I would walk back and I would do it again and it would be right. And so, it would come up here and there in practices, and I never in competition, thank gosh, but definitely when Simone was going, yeah, she didn't want that outcome. She's a badass, and that is, excuse my French, she's amazing. And so that was to see her come back was even more special after that, because you're like, okay, she's put in so much work, so many repetitions. She's probably done the skill so many times, and even now she doesn't even do the vault that she had did it on. She had that issue with. She created her own vault, just like Kendall created her own vault, and now she's doing an even harder vault, but not involving twisting. So there's a lot of ways to get creative with it, and you just kind of have to like figure it out as you go.
Fantastic. I'm going to have two more questions and then we're going to open it up. But the next question, if someone was to describe, but you're describing yourselves, if someone were to describe your style of gymnastics, whether it's athletic, elegant, I don't know all the different words that are used to describe gymnasts, but Catherine, how would a coach or your teammates, how would they describe your style of gymnastics?
Definitely growing up, everyone kind of looked to me as like more of the tumbler, and like I would kind of throw any skill. Like definitely when I was younger, I was more of like a daredevil with gymnastics. Like I didn't really get scared to do anything. I would kind of just do it. And it was kind of like just like a joke, like, oh, like she'll just do like kind of whatever they ask me to. And then I think as I got older, that kind of like slowly went away. As I got more injuries, I got a little more hesitant to do stuff. But gosh, a word to describe my gymnastics. I think I was a little bit a mix of both, of like, I guess, elegant and fun, because I mostly did floor as well as tumbling. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Kendall, what about you?
I think similar to Catherine growing up. I mean, in a different way, though, I definitely, like I said, from a young age, didn't really have the option to do a lot of the backwards gymnastics. So I really only had the opportunity to do forward skills, which ended up working out in my favor. I was known for my uniqueness throughout college. So I think it was something that, although it was definitely hard to go through growing up, it was something that really set me apart in the NCAA. So I don't really mind that I went through it. It definitely defined my gymnastics, and just through the commentators on our meets or, other places that we traveled to as well, the commentators always acknowledged it. And they always reference me as like the Energizer Bunny and just a powerhouse. So I think those words definitely like stuck with me and define my gymnastics for sure.
Excellent. And Sid, how would they describe you?
I would say same with the powerful aspect. That was the word that came to my mind first, because I was always like strong, throwing bigger skills, not afraid of difficulty. And then also I would say emotive, but more in the way of energy, like bringing a lot of energy, a lot of facial, expressions in my dance. My celebrations were really fun. Like I really was just having the best time ever. And I think that was just genuine joy. And so that was my journey.
It's really fun talking to you guys. Okay, my last question, and then we'll go to the other participants. How has gymnastics shaped your career paths? So, Sid, we'll start with you. You described it a little bit, but further.
Absolutely. So I'm from a big sports family. Like I said about my mom and my aunts, my brother was a Division I hockey player, still plays hockey now semi-professionally. My dad played college football. And so, it was really ingrained in us as a family to watch sports, to celebrate sports. And no matter what it was, like we were sitting down and watching it as a family, going to the local, with our friends and families that we did sports with. It was a part of us. So I always said after watching the movie Jerry Maguire that I was going to be a sports agent. And from then on, I never wavered. I didn't know what it really was going to look like for me. However, when I got to GW, the sports management master's program was incredible. Gave me the best connections, like Meredith right here on this call, the best mentors like Meredith on this call, and really just set me up for success with finding the right athletes to work with, how I wanted to work. And the projects that we did in school really are projects that I still work on this day for my clients. And so, whether it's writing them like coming up with a new concept for them, strategizing their social media, and all stuff like that is really important. So I really just feel like my entire upbringing into what I do now revolves around community sports being better. How can we make it bigger? How can we maximize everything to the most? And so that's what I would say.
Fantastic. Kendall.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that has just helped my career was being on a team with just such a great mentor as a coach. She really prioritized getting us ready not only to compete, but to perform in school and outside of school and gymnastics. She wanted us to be ready for the workforce and to excel and be in the forefront of everything that we did. So I think just her prioritizing things, even little things like being 15 minutes early to everything and communication, those are huge things that have helped shape me in my career today, especially in recruiting. I have to be on top of, working with my clients and just communicating with my whoever I'm working with that day to fill a job. Time and efficiency is something that sets you apart in my job. So that's definitely the biggest thing that I took away from it.
I don't think you told us or the panel what your current career is.
Yeah, so I work for a IT staffing agency. So, we work on going out and finding our own clients to partner with to fill their, harder to fill engineering positions. So we're not only recruiting candidates for those roles, but also maintaining relationships with hiring managers. So that communication aspect that I touched on is definitely one of the biggest parts of my job for sure.
Fantastic. So the gymnastics has helped you in life skills and professional skills in your current role. Fantastic. And Catherine, what about you?
Yeah, like Kendall touched upon, one of the big reasons I wanted to come to GW was that everyone told me, like, the coaches in the program, they're going to prepare you for life after gymnastics and to be a successful young woman entering the workforce. So that was something that really drew me to coming to GW, and I'm so grateful I did. Just like the little things, being able to stand in front of a room of people and introduce yourself and hold a conversation, and look people in the eye and just be polite, was something that was really like fostered in us at GW, and like always looking presentable, always giving your best, because you never know who's in the room or who's paying attention. And I think the other biggest thing that gymnastics has taught me and being a college athlete is just the discipline aspect and doing things that you might not necessarily want to do. Like, maybe I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and go work out before going to work, but like I'm going to do it anyways. And just having a tolerance for doing things that are difficult is something that I really hope and believe will stay with me for the rest of my life. So
fabulous. I think this was explained a little bit, but maybe one of you could take a moment to say, this is one of the questions from the audience. How would you explain the biggest difference between NCAA gymnastics and elite gymnastics? You guys touched a little bit upon it, but Cydney, why don't you take that one?
Sure. So I would say the major difference is just the actual skills that the athletes are doing. On the elite side of things, there's more components to it, and they need to have a certain amount of skills in each routine. Whereas in college, you can kind of put things together and make it a little shorter. And so the elite gymnasts are doing like back to back to back to back to back skills. Like you can't even look away from the screen because it's just go, 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 go. College, it's a little bit more, you can either get creative with it, and you just enjoy a little bit more of that performance, a little more of the dance, a little like people go viral for their floor routines on the college side, like Caitlin Ohashi, Jordan Childs, and stuff like that. Some of it's more of like their dance factor, whereas on the elite side, they're going viral for their skills and doing the absolute craziest things. So that's where I would say is the major difference. However, they can both coexist now, which I think is really cool.
And is the judging different? That's
actually a good point, Meredith. That's a really good point. So in college, it's out of a 10, the perfect 10, and it's a little bit more of a relaxed judging, I would say, compared to the elite side. Like your difficulty and your execution create your score, and the score is limitless, I guess I would say, to describe it. And you basically build up your start value. Whereas most girls in college, they're starting from a 10 and getting deducted. On the elite side, you have your 8 skills that you need. And then on top of that, you get more bonus for doing harder things, putting them, back to back. And then, if they're executed well, you could get a 14, a 15. So there's not really a cap on the scoring. And that's why it looks a little different.
So because that changed, because when, some of the, Olga Korbut, I think, from Russia got a perfect 10. She might have been the first one. So do any of you know when that changed from the Olympic gymnastics out of a 10 to now this more?
I'm pretty sure it was after like 2008.
Okay.
Or maybe a little earlier than that, actually, because those girls still were doing it. But it was in more recent than later on. The 10 was, in the 2000 Olympics, it was a 10. So I know that.
Right. Okay. And then is it hard, do you think, for the Jordan Childses to go back and forth from a collegiate to, from a judging and skill level standpoint? I mean, the skills are always going to be the same, but do they change their routine based on whether it's Olympic versus NCAA?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, their warm up and their practice is probably the college season, gearing up for the elite season, because their routines just get a lot harder as the season goes on. And the college season ends in April, whereas the elite season pretty much starts like May, June. The Olympics is in July. So, it really, I'm amazed by these girls that do both. So
able to do both. The next question, Kendall, I'm going to ask you, since you did compete in France, but what are your impressions of gymnastics culture in Russia or other countries outside of the United States? So when you competed in this event in France, what other countries were there participating, and what struck you kind of as the differences?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I noticed, I actually grew up with all of my coaches were Bulgarian, and they had definitely had relationships with coaches and other gymnasts from Russia as well. So just being over there in France, my coach was actually pretty well known over there. So a lot of people knew what my gym was, like where we were from, familiar with my coaching staff as well. And a common theme that I just observed, it was hard for me because I was super young, and everybody spoke different languages, and that was something that I had to adjust to. But just a common theme that I see is just everyone's love for gymnastics. It's like, growing up with Bulgarian coaches, they eat, sleep, breathe gymnastics, and they expect you to do the same. So although it's a little bit different just in the United States nowadays, people don't necessarily like take it as seriously as that. Growing up, like I always did, and I saw that in when I competed over in Europe as well. It was totally the same energy and culture. Like everyone lived that. So I think it's definitely something that's carried across different countries.
And everybody, if it's an amazing skill, it doesn't matter what country, what culture, everyone's going to go,
yeah.
Right? I mean, that doesn't change at all.
Oh, yeah.
Catherine.
Yeah.
If someone has only ever watched an Olympic gymnastics, what do you think would surprise them most about an NCAA meet, a college meet?
I think the amount of fun that you can have at a college meet. Like after every routine, you run right back to your after every routine, you run back to your team and give them high fives. That's not like happening in the Olympics. So I think the celebration, and like Sid touched upon, like NCAA floor routine is going to be a lot different than an Olympic floor routine. They're going to have a lot more fun. They can have a little more, what's the word? Their choreography is just going to be a little more out there, different, something you might not normally see. Whereas in the Olympics, it's going to be a little more streamlined than college. Yeah.
Excellent. So this is for each of you. And I think we'll have time for a couple more questions. But if each of you, Catherine, we'll start with you. If each of you could share one routine or competition, if you could relive one routine or competition, what would it be and why? And it could be at any level. It could be pre-college, during college, whatever. So one routine.
I would say my senior night routine would be the one I would relive, just because I remember being so nervous for that routine because I had a lot of family there because it was our senior night. I was like, this is the one I'm going to remember forever. So I just remember being so nervous. And the second, like, I landed my last pass, I think I almost started crying because I was like, oh, thank God it's over. I was just so nervous, and I was just so happy it went well. And I could, it's obviously was a meet at home. And at home, we would always compete floor last. So that was the event I did. So I was waiting around the whole time for it. And so I just remember feeling a lot of like relief and excitement. And it was just like a really special moment because I could celebrate with my family and my team afterwards. So.
And it was just a few weeks ago, months
ago.
Yeah,
end of March. Yeah.
Not that long ago.
That's cool. Not that long ago.
Kendall, what about you?
Yeah, this one's easy for me. It was my sophomore year. We had our conference championships actually at home. So we got to host it, and there was 8 teams in our conference at the time. And we actually came in like ranked like 7th out of 8 teams. So we definitely were not expected to win. And somehow we ended up actually winning the conference championship. So, and that was our first time winning, my first time winning, being a part of the team. So it was definitely something I would, love to relive and will never forget. And just being in the moment, I think we finished on bars, and it just grew. Like as the meet went on, we got better and better, and it was a really tight meet, which also made it special because came down to the last few tenths, the last routine. So that was definitely one that stood out to me.
When did you realize that you guys had a chance to win? Like,
Literally at the very end, we were watching the other team that was super close with us, and one of their girls had made a mistake, and our last girl did super well. So we kind of knew in that moment that we were probably going to end up on top. And it was like everyone just started crying. It was like super, like really emotional. And yeah, it was awesome, especially being the underdogs and coming out on top. It was crazy.
I'm getting goosebumps hearing you talk about it. Sid, what about you?
Well, mine would just be my last routine as well. It was our conference championships. We had only gotten, it was during COVID, we had only gotten to compete like 4 times. I think it was like 4 times because we either had fairs, we had Congress that was, overtook, that shut down DC. We had curfews. We had so many things going on that year. COVID, people would get it on other teams, and then we wouldn't be able to compete. And so just being able to have that I still remember that last routine so special to me. And
was that your 5th year or was that your senior
year? We were at the University of Pittsburgh, and I know my friends, they were before me in the lineup, so they finished their careers, and my one friend starts crying, and I'm like, stop, I didn't go yet, And so, just that joy with yourself, but also everything that you've worked for, everything that your parents sacrificed, it was really such a village of sports. It creates such a village. And so it was for all of us. And I love that.
That's awesome. All right. Another question for all of you, and we'll go the reverse this time. Sid, you start. Do you have any pre-meet rituals or superstitions?
Whoa.
Or
I always had to have steak and mashed potatoes before, the night before. From even when I was little, I'd have to find somewhere with a steakhouse with some mashed potatoes and broccoli, and that was my pre.
You're an expensive date.
Yes, very, very lucky in that way. My parents would always find a way to get me a steak, and so carbs, all that substance. I was like, okay, this is what's gonna fuel me for the next day, and then just during the competitions, you're on go mode, your body knows what to do. And so I wasn't really relying on I need to do this, or it's not going to happen. I think at GW did a really good job of being no, you're going to make it happen instead of things just happening for you. And so I always, relied on that.
Fabulous. Catherine?
This is funny. Mine's kind of similar to Sid, but I had to have 5 pieces of broccoli the night before every meet because because once I got older, I got way less strict, and if I had some broccoli, great. But the first time I did it, I was at one of my family friends' house, and she did gymnastics with me. And we made a joke about it that I was going to eat 5 pieces, one for each event and one for the all around. And I was really young. I was probably in elementary school. And then the next day was the first competition I had won all around. So I was like, oh my God, I can't not do this. So then it just continued literally the rest of my career. It's kind of a weird one, but.
Did it have to be a whole flowerette or just
No, just some broccoli. Yeah.
Kendall, what about you?
I didn't have too many outside of right in the competition. Other than my hair having to look perfect and just feeling my best, I would definitely go through my routines in my head a lot. That was a little bit of a superstition before I got up to go and it was my turn. I always would close my eyes and just run my routine through my head a couple of times. I definitely made sure to do that every single time before I went. So I that was probably my biggest superstition for sure.
Visualization, that's that's what you're taught, right?
Yeah.
As an elite athlete, that's what sports therapists work with elite athletes on, is the visualization of whatever competition they're doing. So well, this has been phenomenal. It's been fun talking to all of you and learning from you, and I hope you all enjoyed doing it, and I hope that the American Center in Moscow enjoyed and learned a lot from this panel. So thank you so much. And Josh or Tessa, is there anything else that we need to do? I'm guessing not. So,
She said, no, all good.
okay, great. Well, thank you again for your participation. I love you all, and I miss having you as students. So hopefully we'll see you soon.
We miss you too, Meredith.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
all.
Bye.